Now that we're in the studio, we can take a close look at some of the custom touches I added to this knife. And we'll start off with the custom show side scale. This is snakeskin fat carbon. This is the brass version. They also have a copper version. I am more of a fan of the brass version here. You can see it does imitate that snakeskin look, which I think is beautiful stuff. Another thing I like about this material, when you do the ends or the bevels, you get that nice weave pattern, and it's just beautiful in the light. So this does do its thing at certain angles, and couldn't be happier with the outcome. One thing that surprised me about this knife was a little bit of milling on the underside for the standoffs and even for the pivot. So it was a little tricky, so I ended up doing the underside first with the CNC just so that I can get the layout perfect, because that's one thing I noticed about this knife is it has very, very high tolerances. But I was able to get that finished, and I was even able to create that pocket for access to the lanyard hole, and I'll show you guys that once it's all assembled. So that's the show side scale. Now, one thing that the customer wanted was to match the brass color to the ano on the frame lock side. So you can see here, there is that golden brass hue to it. Now it's a lot darker because of just the finish on the titanium, but in that stone wash you get those little flakes or specks of gold or brass. Now this brass is a little bit brighter. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but it's a little bit brighter than this color. However, I did find a scrap piece in the workshop. You can see here it does darken over time, so eventually the brass, you can see how this is just a little bit darker, more gold, or a deeper golden look compared to this lighter brass color. So eventually it will get darker, and over time it'll match the darker ano. And if anything happens to the show side scale or the custom show side scale, I ended up anodizing the original, so he can just swap it back over. I ended up leaving the backspacer and the pocket clip just the natural state that they came in. I love the aggressive stone wash, by the way, but I left those alone so that they can match the blade here. Just a beautiful stone wash, and that way you have a nice two-tone finish on this knife, and we'll get a closer look at that once it's all assembled. So all the hardware is titanium, including the thumb studs here. So I did a nice golden anode to it to match the brass on the scale and the anode frame. Two little touches that I did, or custom touches that I did, they weren't necessary, but I ended up doing it. He anodized the stop pin, since it's steel, and I got it pretty close to the same color. And another thing, very small detail, but he anodized the hardware for the steel insert. You can see right there, nice golden hue to it. Again, it really wasn't necessary, but I really do think the little touches go a long way. Now before I assemble this, one thing that surprised me about it was that this thing has washers. Honestly, I thought it was riding on bearings, but we do have washers here. And it has a Sabenza feature that I haven't really seen on other knives, but we have a sleeve that goes over the pivot and then rides on the inside of the pivot hole on the blade. So really interesting setup. And again, that just really surprised me. So enough talking about it. Let's put this thing together and see what it looks like. Here it is all assembled. Got that golden theme going. Again, all the hardware is anodized gold to go with that brass. Even the thumb stud. Here is the pocket clip side. Again, it's a very subtle golden hue to the anodized frame, but I think it goes very well with the snakeskin, or the brass in the snakeskin fat carbon. And there's that two-tone finish with the backspacer being the natural finish. Same with the pocket clip. just to match that blade. I think it looks good altogether. As always, let me know down below what you guys think of how this thing turned out. Let's check this thing out. Opened up. Again, just really, really cool how the snakeskin does that in the light. Here is the pocket clip side opened up. One thing I do like is that they hid the hardware for that steel insert on the underside. So very, very clean frame lock. Quickly want to show you guys the weave pattern on the beveled and end sections of the scale. Just really does that cool shift in the light. See right there, really, really addicting to look at, but snappy little knife. Love the action on this thing. The fact that it's so smooth and it's riding on washers really, really surprised me. Reverse flick works great. Again, just really, really snappy. Really reminds me of the CKF Evo, like a little baby version of it. I'm not saying it's identical, it's just it reminds me of it. Love the amount of belly on the blade. And this thing is super sharp, so just a great knife overall. It's not a popular brand, but I will leave a link down below where you guys can pick one of these up if you're interested. And quickly wanted to show you guys that little section where the lanyard hole is, or access to it. You can see I had to remove some material from the custom show size scale to match it. So a little tricky, but thankfully the CNC got the job done. And one thing I forgot to mention was on the underside of the scale, I had to do a micro bevel to match the other side so that it can look similar to where it meets up with the backspacer. You can see it needs that little gap. The jimping was a little tricky, but I took my time and used my Dremel with a very thin bit to get the exact jimping identical to the other side. Overall, it turned out really well. And that's the beauty of using the original scale as your guide. So if you're ever doing a custom show side scale, the original is definitely going to help you. So that's all I do is I just copy the original to make my life a lot easier. And just a really fun project overall. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate the support. And I will see you guys on the next one.